Hello, ladies. I am glad to see a great turnout on a weekday, especially evening. I know you must be very busy taking the time out to attend this webinar, that too on a topic which is finance. I'm sure like this is not very interesting, but I think it's very important though to learn about how money works and how you can actually grow it to the best of your advantage. Right. Firstly, I would like to thank you, Jagriti, and the Desi Girls team for reaching out and inviting me for this talk. I don't think I would have ever planned for it, but having received this opportunity, I was really excited to, do this. So thank you again. Um, with that said, let's begin. So before we jump in, let me share about myself, who I am. So my name is Hemant Gangolia. I am the founder and CEO of iNRI. Um, I have been in the US for 7 years now. Came in 2017 to New York. I worked at McKinsey, Walmart, Meta in my past. I come from Mumbai, India. I went to IIT Bombay and I'm in Ahmedabad. And right now I'm in California in Palo Alto and based out of here permanently. Now you heard about iNRI. What is it? Let me also share a bit about it. So I started iNRI to help NRIs across the globe to invest in India. I strongly believe the Indian markets have a great potential and wanted to make sure that everyone gets access to it. And while being an NRI myself, I had to go through lengthy processes, compliance, documentation, and that got me thinking that, if the processes can be simplified, uh, and that's how iNRI came to life, having got this motivation. Now, moving to the main part of this webinar, where I would like to emphasize on things that are quite basic, but often ignored, in a daily life. I will also have a Q&A at the end, so we'll just do a quick presentation with a Q&A, followed by a Q&A. So some of you might have moved abroad for studies, or for work, or after your marriage. Before making the move, you would have invested in India. You would have some funds in India as a resident there. But what you should do about it, right? You may be having it still in your bank account or invested in some other asset. Now, there are three options, right? One, you could exit them, you could continue to hold, or you could double down on that. Now, there are a few kinds of things where you could continue to hold, which could be government saving schemes where you have the tax advantages to continue to do that, or you can exit some instruments, where it says land, property, equity, or, market investments. But if you don't want to miss out on the India story, you could continue to reinvest, right, in where you are. Now, as you become an NRI, there are a few things, that one should make sure of. And it is very interesting that I've come across many NRI customers who have been in the States or, in outside India for long, but they don't have the NRI accounts, bank accounts, which is NRE or NRO. Essentially, these are non-resident bank accounts that one should have when they become an NRI. There are different purposes for this. One, to have an NRE or NRO. NRE is for sourcing foreign funds, and NRO is sourcing Indian income. So depending on where are you getting this income, you may be required or basically need to have both of them. But this is different from a resident savings account. And if you already have one, you can convert your existing account to an NRO account and avoid a penalty. Although it is not enforced as such, but there are regulations where it says that if you have, more than 10,000 in your resident savings account, you could be penalized up to 3 times of that account, right? So best to be compliant as soon as possible and not, put yourself in a case where, you may end up paying a penalty. Second is KYC. So it is important to keep your KYC information updated. There are regulations coming up where it is required and mandatory to have the right KYC on your investments or on your bank accounts. And in that case, if it is not KYC updated, then it would freeze your accounts and you may be, devoid of your money, which is there. And lastly, tax residency. So As soon as your status changes to NRI, best to change your tax residency status on your ID portal, which is income tax portal, to non-resident. So all of three things I would say are at least basic minimum, like as you become an NRI. And if you have not done it, doesn't matter when you move, but if you are going to be here for a foreseeable future, you should look to kind of make sure, if you have money in India or want to deal with that, you are getting it through. Inheritance and repatriation. So your assets should be, an advantage for you and shouldn't burden you, right? And be it something that you purchased or something you have inherited in India, right? And India, women have inheritance rights. And if you don't see yourself moving back to India, why have anything there, right? So you may want to move back to move back this money to your country. Now, as NRIs, you are not allowed to invest in agricultural lands, farmhouses, or plantation. Now, any such property that you may inherit from family or otherwise can only be sold to resident Indians. So you might want to check whether you want to, sell this property, and how do you want to take these proceeds, and may want to consult a tax expert here to work this out. Saving versus investing. Sometimes people often confuse saving versus investing, but I think the objective and what should be the purpose of both should be very clearly laid out. Saving help you lay your financial foundation initially, but investing is something really grows your wealth, right? So you could save for your short-term goals like buying an iPhone or going on your next girls trip, but investing is a long-term game, and it's all about that how you start today and maybe in 10, 20 years down the line, how you reap those benefits. Your investment can ideally sponsor your entire lifestyle if it is done very right? And that's what all we want, right? We need to retire well and peacefully so that we don't have any financial stress. But we need both of them. So by balancing both, setting clear goals and understanding what's your risk appetite, one could secure your financial future. Um, So I am sure, a lot of you who are attending today have some investments. Let's say where you might be earning, and you might be investing in 401ks or retirement accounts, be also holding ESOPs like RSUs in your company. Now, the question is, are these enough, and should you be diversifying more, right? And you may have heard from famous Warren Buffett, is like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? So all it means is to diversify your assets, your investments, and not just stick to one particular company. For example, I worked at Meta, and for a long time, a good amount of my capital was in just Meta stock. So it is always risky to have a big chunk of your portfolio or your money into some risky asset, or basically just one asset. So while diversifying into the US or your country of resident could be one strategy, diversifying across geographies can also be one. And I think as NRIs, we are more familiar with India than any other country. India could be one where if you already have money in India or may want to move money over time there, India could be a next investment destination. Uh, so in India, you have multiple options, as I said, before, like equity, debt, real estate, commodities. So there are endless options, just like you would have in your residence country. Uh, Unlike US, you may not have many options. Also, if you are, let's say, in Canada or UK or Europe, where the markets have not done well. So I think India here could be really something that you want to have in your portfolio. And in this, I would recommend mutual funds is great because mutual funds help with easy and professional management, instant diversification right from the start as you invest. Now, planning for India goals, and there's a famous saying where it says that you can take the boy out of your country, but you cannot take the country out of the boy. Now, what this means is like you may have moved from India, but the values that we learned and the bond that we developed can never be broken. So there may be a case where you may need to support loved ones. Like we all, like at least I have my parents who live in India right now, and you may have too. And so there may be a case where you need to support them and may need to remit money back to them. Uh, and as even a woman, I think, the narrative has changed over time, where even, daughters are taking care of their parents. So there is no gender barrier here, but essentially what you need to have is a clear goal and investment so that you are able to support your family wherever they are in case of, let's say, regular income, and maybe even making investments on their behalf for their retirement. And maybe insurance and other things could also be very important here, uh, as they grow and as you grow as well. Um, So moving forward, now, we talked about a lot of investments, money here and there, but taxation is something that will come wherever you go, right? And so the key question is, now that let's say you have money in India or in your foreign country, how does it get taxed? Well, it's not rocket science. All it needs to be complied in a way where, wherever you are paying the right taxes, and you should be sorted. So all you need is a right guidance here, where you may know an expert, or you may know someone in India to help you out with that. But essentially, following the rules and complying with them, taxes should be easy. Uh, and you don't have to worry where you are paying taxes twice. So on the same income or profit, India, has signed double taxation avoidance agreement with, I would say, hundreds of countries, and it will protect you from paying taxes twice on the same income. So taxation can be a very deep topic, and maybe, I can devote at least an hour on that. But we are actually doing that. This Sunday, we are planning an India tax webinar hosted by a tax expert who specializes in NRI taxation. So I would highly recommend, if you are interested in India taxation, join that webinar. I will share more link on that, after this. But this is the one I'm talking about. We were going to be covering a lot of topics around investments, taxation, real estate, and how do you, let's say, even have to repatriate it back to India, to your foreign country, how that could be done. Uh, Now coming here, like, this is what I also wanted to share about iNRI, because I talked about different solutions like taxation or investing in India. And this is, as I mentioned at the start of the presentation, is like what iNRI is doing is we are building a one-stop platform for a lot of solutions. For example, if you need to invest in India, we offer Indian mutual funds right from the comfort of your home. You could do that. We also offer NRI document services. We come across many customers where they may not have a bank account, like an NRE, NRO, may not have a PAN card, or may not have a OCI. So all of these are required to get started. But we help with that right from your home if you need. So we also provide taxation as a service, basically help you consult with tax experts in your foreign country or in India, both. Now, while all this might be sorted by us, but the question here would be, is it worth even, investing in India or keeping the money there, or even the right time for that matter, right? So I think the best time to invest is always yesterday. This is a chart I want to kind of stress here in terms of, how Indian market has been performing, let's say, for the past 20 years. You can clearly see that, the market has really shot up almost 2000%, which is, let's say, 20 times since in 20 years. While S&P, which is the US index, has grown over 5 times. And even if you account for dollar appreciation, it is not, I mean, even if you adjust for it, the gains would be still be higher when it comes to Indian market. So the best time is always yesterday, and the next best time is today if you want to get started. Um, This is also a reflection of our journey. Today, we are at 12 crore AUM. We started 1 year ago, but we aim to achieve, 100 CR by the end of the year. Um, we also have built tools to kind of, help you get started with investments. And even if you don't know which funds to invest in, you can get started with a lot of these tools that we have on the platform. So, in the interest of time, we have like 15 minutes. So I would rather spend on questions here. Any Q&A, we could begin with. I hope this was not too much of an information. I just wanted to skim over basic topics, and then kind of keep more for Q&A, because I think a lot of these questions could be personalized in nature, and happy to answer them. If you,
We have a few questions in the chat. Let's cover
yeah.
that and then we can go to people. First one is, are these options the same available options for US citizens with OCI also?
Yes, so all these options should be available for your OCI as well, as long as you have a OCI card and the necessary documentation. You are as good as a NRI or a Indian citizen, with relevant documentation.
Second question is, should shares and mutual funds purchased as resident be liquidated or sold, or can a trust be formed to take care of the investments?
Yeah, so you could look to sell these funds, because if they are resident or bound to a resident account, like an investment account, then you may not be able to move to a non-resident one, because there is a certain classification, especially for a brokerage account in India, where a resident demat cannot be essentially converted to non-resident. So in that case, you would require to sell these shares or mutual funds, and then maybe buy again into a non-resident demat.
If anyone else has a question, go ahead.
Yeah, so if we are remitting money from through NRI to NRO in India for parent support, is it taxable? So there should not be any tax, given that you have already paid taxes in India, or I mean, like if you are sourcing money from here, then there should not be any taxes additionally applicable on this income or this transfer.
There's a question above that also. What are the Indian market returns with dollar appreciation?
Yeah, so as I was showing up here, if you consider for even dollar appreciation here, what, let's say a dollar invested today would be, 0.5 or less when accounting for the depreciation. So you could consider, let's say, 1,000% increase here. Like even if I just had to half the returns, Nifty would have returned at least 1,100%. So it's still better than S&P, or almost twice of that. Is it okay to have 3-in-1 brokerage account in India? Yeah, you could have it essentially a 3-in-1 account. Many of you would not know if it's like a brokerage account where you have a trading account, a demat account, and then also the bank account. So good to open that one also, like in case you are looking to do all three, but could be difficult to manage. How? Because as I see, managing many accounts, especially from outside, could be a lot of work. So, and there are, I mean, banks sometimes kind of offer you that, because they are trying to make money on, let's say, account maintenance fees. Like there would be some monthly or annual maintenance fees. You may not be using those accounts, but essentially they would be gonna charge on you, and may offer more products and services which they can make money on. So I would say take a judgment here in terms of what you really need, and not needing to have, multiple accounts if you don't feel like investing or, using them.
I have one more question. So is there any maximum limit to remit the money in India? Like, if we are like remitting through NRI account to NRO account, so is there any limit, maximum limit? Especially depends on visa type.
Yeah, so you mean from the US? Which
Yes,
country?
yes.
Yeah,
US
yeah.
to India.
Yeah, so there are restrictions in terms of remittances. If you're remitting to someone else apart from you, but not from your NRE to NRO, because once the money hits India, then you can move it around wherever you want. Uh, but when you are remitting, let's say, from your dollar bank to NRE, then the restriction applies, because US government does not allow a gift of more than $15,000. Like, I mean, basically, if you do, you kind of have to report it. However, if you can yourself, I mean, you can gift yourself as much as possible. So gifting yourself doesn't count as gift. It's basically just sending money on your name. So let's say, I hope that is clear.
I mean, if I'm not wrong, like you were saying that if I am transferring from US to India in my NRI account, so there is no limit. But if I'm gifting someone else, then the 15,000 maximum I can do in 1 year.
Yeah, but that is when you are remitting from dollar. But if you have the money in India, you can, move that around and doesn't matter because you have got the money in India now. And so I would recommend what you could do is like remitting, as much you need from your dollar bank to NRE, and then from NRE you can give it to anyone. Then you may want to give. So
Okay.
in that case, kind of are navigating both cases.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I had a question that sometimes, for your best investment is buying a house or buying a
Mhm.
property or something like that. What's the best way to put the earning we have here in a property back in India? Like, how can we use that?
Yeah, yeah. So one thing I want to take a step back on is not every time buying a house will be a good thing because buying a house has some pros and some cons. So pros is like you are owning some asset, like a physical asset. You can call it home, or you can have, someone in India live there. But essentially, from an investment perspective, it may not really make sense because although property appreciates, but there are running costs with it. For example, you need to maintain that property, and may need to get some rent out of it. So, like basically it's called yield, right? So otherwise the property is gonna, not give you anything much over time. It's only the appreciation that will count. But if there is any maintenance, then you will have to take care of that. And in India, I think, you may have come or heard about, like the property law sometimes can be tricky, like in terms of, whether do you really own the property in terms of paperwork and so many things. Further, there is a bit of a black money or, like lack of transparency, which is involved in, residential or whether, commercial properties in India. So there might be a tricky case where you are putting all your white money into something which is a bit lacks transparency. So it's, I mean, you could buy home, but I think there are some of these considerations that you may want to kind of consider before doing that. Um, and an alternative to this would be to invest in the financial markets here because, or in India basically, because financial markets have that liquidity, the transparency that they come with, and there is no upkeep, like, or there is no maintenance you need. Just like you would invest in stock market here, it's very easy to manage. So for NRIs, I think it better makes sense to kind of invest in financial assets. But yes, I mean, home is home, and definitely if you need it for family and otherwise, it could be a good option there too.
Uh, there's a question in the chat. What would be the best
Yeah.
option to bring money back from India to Canada? For example, if we made good returns via mutual funds and want to bring that money back to Canada in next 10 years.
Yeah, so it's recommended that you would invest from an NRE bank account because an NRE require like makes it easy for repatriation. So if you require repatriation back to India, let's say after 5-10 years, then this should be a easy way to get started. And basically just invest from NRE so that you have a proper paper trail of that you have invested, from your foreign bank account and into India. And then when you take it out, it gets easier.
Anyone else has any question?
So you may have more questions later, but so you can always reach out to me, or we also do a weekly Q&A. This is exclusively for NRIs that we do. I will send the link again as I post on the event link, but you can always reach out to us, and these are my contact details. So I see a few more questions, so let me answer that. Um, how is residency calculated for an OCI residing in India? So tax residency is quite simple. If you are living in India for more than 6 months, then you are a tax resident in India. However, if you are a US citizen, you are required to pay taxes in US as well and file taxes in US, even though you are living in India. But as soon as you become qualify for that time period, then you become a tax resident in India too. Is NRI account different from savings account? So yes, normal savings account is meant for resident Indians. When you become an NRI, it's recommended to kind of convert that account to a non-resident account. There is no big difference except for the fact that it belongs to someone who is a non-resident. So the classification here is the important part. How to invest in SIPs in India. So you could use our platform. There are other platforms as well. However, iNRI here is kind of just differentiating by becoming more NRI centric and tailoring solutions. So you could get started at goinri.com as well to set up your SIPs or invest in mutual funds into India. Could you post the one-on-one Zoom link in chat? Okay, so I will send all this in the event post after this call. You should have all these links. We also have a WhatsApp NRI community. There are over 1,000 people on that. So I will send this as well. So do make a note in the email as I send this.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we are almost at time. So I could wait for a minute or two, but I would say meanwhile, since we are all here and before we leave, we could take a picture, all of us, and if everyone is comfortable, maybe
Why
some
not?
of us could uh, take a picture together if
Yeah.
interested.
Good.
So, but I really enjoyed joining today and then speaking among all of you. I hope this webinar was informative in one way or the other, and this is just an attempt to kind of reach a few of you today, and then hopefully many of the ladies or even men in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't see. I think I can see just 6 of you. Let me put the gallery link. Okay.
I think a lot of people just left also because at there were like 50 people.
Okay, no worries. But any of us, we could take a picture. So okay. Okay, so I got a picture. Thank you, everyone. But I will send all these links in the email post, and we'll share more on our platform, as well as you could reach out to me on my email at hemant@goinri.com. I'm based in the US, and should be available most of the time during your time too.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hemant. This was really nice. I'm sure
Yeah,
everyone will have more questions and they'll reach out to you soon.
yeah. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a good evening and a good day,
You
and
too.
take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.